to the quiet, button-pushing, sliding doors of electricity, and all in one afternoon. Whilst Egremont was battered by foul weather, storm clouds of a different kind were gathering over Europe. The unsettling developments in Germany turned into actual aggression against Eastern Europe. Czechoslovakia was invaded and occupied. Following the invasion of Poland, Britain could sit back no more. And on September the 3rd, 1939, Neville Chamberlain's government announced that Britain and France were at war with Germany. Naturally, as the Empire's biggest port outside London and the manufacturing base for navy and merchant ships, Merseysiders held their breath, knowing that they would be a prime target. In fact, it wasn't until August the 9th, 1940, that the first bombs fell on Birkenhead. Life until then had continued pretty normally. Everybody had a job to do, even these school leavers, training for a future with the officer corps. 50,000 children were evacuated from the city, gathered together at schools. Parents would have to say goodbye there before the children were taken to the station. Ironically, immediately prior to all this mass disruption and destruction, the Education Department had just finished a huge improvement programme to the Merseyside schools, and its leaders were keen to impress.
When we think of education, we visualize the picture of a child seated in the classroom busy with what many people imagine to be the 3 R's. Today, however, each subject is treated in its individual department, as instanced in this geography class at work. Art has progressed beyond the old drawing lesson and appeals now to the constructive, creative, and decorative instincts. Domestic science teaches the practical work of cooking. The girl is taught also to make and mend her own clothes, and by means of small flaps to keep a house neat and tidy. Baby is not forgotten. The boy is taught to use his hands. After an apprenticeship in wood, passing to the metal shops and other useful yet interesting handicrafts. Physical fitness plays an important part in school life. Simple exercises under competent instructors build strong, healthy bodies. These games develop the will to win, or what is more important, the ability to lose gracefully, whilst inculcating that spirit of sportsmanship and teamwork so essential in after life.
Qualities that would be put to the test all too soon. Inevitably, Liverpool's role in the war became more and more crucial. As one of Britain's biggest navy dockyards, the port handled its greatest ever number of ships as vital supplies poured into the country from across the Atlantic and troops and equipment poured out. In these early years of the war, the German U-boats had a devastating effect. Hundreds of ships were sent to the bottom, taking with them 30,000 merchant seamen, more than half the targets of U-boats. Night after night, in more than 70 separate attacks, the docks and surrounding areas were pounded. 50 ships were sunk in the docks in the first 2 years, including a direct hit on the ammunition ship Malacan with its load of 1,000 tons of bombs. Tens of thousands of people were bombed out of their homes, and more than 200,000 homes were damaged by bombs during the 6 years of terror. All traffic would come to a complete stop as soon as the air raid attack sirens sounded. Bus and tram drivers would leave their vehicles and join everyone else in a dash for the nearest air raid shelter. The camel-led shipyards at Birkenhead couldn't keep up with the numbers lost at sea, despite a remarkable record of launching more than 100 warships during the war years. Merseyside simply had to sit and take it. The RAF could do little to stop the waves of German bombers. Winston Churchill twice visited the area that he referred to as the front line, and was moved by the bravery and determination to win that he found there. The purple prose of the newsreel commentator was reduced to simple headlines by the full scale of destruction.
This is total war. England expects. Deafened by the roar of guns, blinded by the glare of fire, with throats choked by dust, eyes half blinded by smoke, the men and women of Britain have answered the call with their characteristic determination and courage. Liverpool's magnificent docks, with the ponderous activity of its warehouses, manned by citizens who perhaps a little sad-eyed at the pain, misery and wanton destruction of total war, have rendered a great service to the nation and will continue to do so. The citizens of Liverpool are worthy of the highest praise. Whilst remembering the tottering scorched walls and shattered windows, the broken masonry and blasted brickwork, they stick to their posts. Upon the Civil Defence Committee falls the grave responsibility of providing for the welfare of the population and the civil defence services. Among the many additional services required from a public authority is that of assisting in the national effort to produce the right food in the largest possible quantity. To the Parks and Gardens Committee belongs the onerous duty of finding the necessary land to produce homegrown food. Allotments have been laid out in many parts of the city, and people who never in their lives contemplated planting anything are now digging for victory.
Nothing was sacred. The drive was on for greens of a different sort when the local authority ploughed up the municipal golf course. It took that special kind of Merseyside courage to keep your chin up when faced with this. Total carnage and devastation. In just 1 week in May 1941, 1,700 people were killed in what is now referred to as the May Blitz. During the war, a total of 4,000 Merseysiders died in air raids. It's indicative of the people and a true reflection of genuine courage that Merseyside bounced back so quickly, determined to make good out of bad and laughter out of tears. Everyday life continued as best it could. The overhead railway, which had been flattened in several places so many times, was back up and carrying thousands in and out of the docks. 50,000 people worked day and night in the docks throughout the whole of the war. And even after taking such appalling poundings, they were busier than ever. If your workload was too much, Eno's had the answer with their advertising slogan, "If you can't keep pace with your work, take Eno's fruit salt every morning." Pierhead margarine was all the rage, at only 2p a half-pound packet. Purcell announced the arrival of the amazing oxygen washer, no mixing, extra lather, and prevents scum. Try Ulster Fry, the new breakfast dish in place of bacon. It was much the same as black puddings, but even in those days, the wrapper claimed that it was free from preservatives. Fifes claimed to be the all-food fruit, whilst Macintosh somehow managed to get away with claiming that Quality Street is a food. But help was at hand from milk of magnesia tablets, which, for just 6p, would avoid all flatulence. Wages were still very low. A plumber earned 1 and 10 an hour, a salesman £3 a week, and a draftsman between £300 and £350 a year. A semi in West Derby was £720, whilst a 4-bedroom detached in Walton was £500. Amongst the stars of the day were Vera Lynn, Bing Crosby and W.C. Fields, who starred in Mississippi. At the Empire Theatre you could see Jack Payne and his Music Box Roadshow, tickets 6p and 2 and 6. The Marx Brothers were splitting sides at the circus. Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland starred in Babes in Arms, and there was Douglas Fairbanks in Rulers of the Sea. A Hillman Minks family saloon would set you back £165, and a stunning SS Jaguar 1.5-litre saloon a mere £265. Through sheer determination, the people of Merseyside kept the trade routes open and the flow of exports constant. The justified pride in British goods was now greater than ever. As the war years moved towards a close, the threat of air attack had all but gone, and for the first time in many years, Merseysiders felt relaxed enough to have a little fun. During the Maybank holiday of 1944, thousands flocked for a trip to New Brighton. Smoking was still all the rage, and some of the tobaccos available were Craven A cigarettes, K4's cigarettes, and Will's Legation Mixture Tobacco. Women's holiday and promenade shoes were 2 and 6, and for those who fell in love on such an outing, a diamond ring was around £3. The numbers were such that luggage boats were called into action with the regular ferries, and the fun seekers were packed in like sardines for the short journey to a rather chilly-looking New Brighton beach. Nothing much had changed. Holiday life went on much as before. Even the old Tivoli Theatre was still there, waiting in the wings. Another spin-off of the war was sweeping the Mersey. Radar now helped the ferries negotiate the river in fog or darkness. Having survived the war and countless storms, the floating landing stage at New Brighton was in need of some attention. The landing stage was the most exposed in the world, and obviously parts occasionally needed replacing. This time, the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board's giant floating crane, Mammoth, is lowering a new bridge section into position. The ribbon is finally cut by local MP and Secretary for Transport, Ernest Marples. High on Marples' list of priorities was the need to promote road safety. As the number of vehicles and people on the roads increased dramatically, so too did the need to protect people, as shown in this early road safety film. Point duty meant dealing with thousands, whilst at the same time being forced to look like you should be conducting the Liverpool film. It's not too unkind to say that these early attempts were almost comic in their direction. With a marvellous example of overacting, this